Hey y'all, welcome back to TMI with Tiffany. And this episode, we are going to go over the love-hate relationship of motherhood. And no, I'm not a mother, but this one, for the birthday girl, shouts out to my mom. My mom is the kind of person that does not only a birthday, but also a birth week and a birth month, and everyone knows it. But first off, yeah, I think I'm gonna need to change something real quick. Just a second. All right, that's much better. Only for my mother would I ever wear a Christmas sweater before Thanksgiving. Just saying. Yes, I am that person. I don't celebrate Christmas, especially before Halloween, let alone like before Thanksgiving. Like, sorry, that's just not my jam. So let me know if are you like a team Christmas? Like my mom is, okay, first of all, my mom is team Christmas all year round. Like, no joke, she wears Christmas shirts all year round. She wears anything Christmas all year round. She listens to Christmas music all year round. She tries to tie in anything she can to Christmas all year round, okay? That's just my mom, which is why, happy birthday, Mom. My resting Grinch face, which obviously I had to put my Grinch one on because I feel like that like fits the vibe. I mean, literally, like. Anyways, so happy birthday, Mom. This episode is referencing the love-hate relationship you have with your mothers, and you probably are like, oh, this is like a really weird episode to do for your mom's birthday, and my mom doesn't even know it's coming out. So surprise, happy birthday, Mom, because I know she listens. So. Funny thing is, she always told me, like, just let me know if you're gonna embarrass me, before you say something, because this is a TMI podcast, right? She knows the daughter she raised, okay? She didn't know what I would blossom into, but she knows who I am, and she still loves me. So we're gonna dive into a few scenarios, and maybe I'm actually thinking about having my mom come on in a few episodes. And we'll kind of dive into our relationship. Maybe this will be a good, like, birthday part 2, where my mom comes in and kind of dives in. But for her birthday, I thought, why the heck not give out a bonus episode just for her? Because I don't think we give our moms enough credit. I mean, if you think about it, not only did they, like, carry us for 9 months and then have to go through the birthing process, and then the postpartum process where they're, like, dealing with all the things plus a freaking newborn baby, and we're not typically like, I mean, yeah, we're cute and cuddly, but like we don't always just like become the nicest things in the world. We're usually pretty cranky or don't sleep through the night or whatever else, okay? Then they freaking have to like raise us for the next 18 years, and plus some. I'm 27 and I feel like my mom's still raising me. Shout out, Mom. I am a child, it's fine, but it's funny because, like, we have Mother's Day, and our moms have birthdays, right? Okay, but then other than that, like, when do we just stop and, like, really thank our moms for all that they've done, or all the shit, sorry, Mom, I'm gonna cut that out, all the shiz we do. I'm not gonna get any of that going on for my mom this episode. She would be shaking her head right now. So think about it. Like, how often do you tell your mom, like, thank you for everything you've done for me? Now I'm going to give you a little backstory about my mom. This is why this is a love-hate relationship. Okay? I almost named the episode, I hated my mom. And I thought that would be a little harsh for a birthday episode. So, the love-hate relationship of motherhood. And I know that probably every person, like, you probably have told your mom that you hated her at one point in your life. It's just a weird teenage situation where, like, I hate you, Mom. You're the worst mom ever. Like, why won't you let me do this? Blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, I get it. We're teenagers, whatever. Like, I don't even think that's an excuse. I think it's ridiculous. Because, especially depending on the mom, like, words hurt. And I know that most moms have probably been in that situation themselves and been like, oh, I've been mad at my mom for. But sometimes I think there's moms out there that are like, oh my gosh, my kid hates me. And I will tell you, my mom knows this, and so this is nothing new. But like my mom, like her number one talent was like the nurturing kind. My mom is so smart, and she has so many amazing talents. But like just like the cuddly, like I don't know, the extra like ooziness, my mom just doesn't really have, you know, like, and it's not something that like she's ashamed of, and it's not something she should be ashamed of. We all just have different love languages and different talents. And actually my mom taught me about love languages, so shout out to mom, because I've learned a lot about myself and how to love myself and how to love others because of what she's taught me. And yes, I am 8 of 9 kids, so when I was born, I not only did she come home to a newborn, which there's a story behind that, but also she had 7 other kids already. Okay, 7 other kids, and then she's bringing home a newborn, and she's like still having to manage all of that and me. Now my mom and I have a special relationship because I guess I don't know, she just didn't really tell anybody she was pregnant. I don't know, like the 8th kid, I don't know, people just didn't need to know, I don't know, whatever. But I came 3 months early, people. 3 months early. Kind of tells you about my patience levels. I'm working on them, thanks to therapy and lots of years of practice. But literally 3 months early, okay, 26 weeks, and I'm 27. So 27 years ago, medicine was quite different. And I was 2 pounds 4 ounces. My mom ended up with preeclampsia. She almost went home. She was like, I'm fine, it's fine, whatever. Like, my dad was like, no, you're not fine. Something's not right. Thankfully, he stepped up and said something, because my mom and I would have died that night. Straight up. Like, no question about it. Because we both almost died in the process anyways. And so I was born 2 pounds 4 ounces. Thank you, Mom. Bless you. And no one ever talks about like C-sections, and like they're like, oh, natural birth, it's so hard. I'm like, they're all hard. Freaking women, all the things we have to go through. However, my mom did a C-section, and I was born 3 months premature. And so not only did she have to go through all of that lovely process and try and stay alive, and then go through the surgery, and then now have a newborn that's like striving to stay alive, my mom always knew I'd be okay. And I don't know if that's like a mother instinct, because I know there's so many mothers out there that like wish their newborns or their preemies like would have made it, or like have all the fight in them in the world. But I don't know, she just always told me, she's like, I knew you'd be okay. And I only know the stories by what people told me. And I've actually, like, in the weirdest way, like, I've always wanted, like, I don't ever wish a preemie upon anyone, but I've always been so curious, like, really how small I was and what it meant to be a mother to a preemie. I mean, at one point I was like 1 pound, and my siblings called me like a bird. They said I just looked like a bird, and I had so many tubes coming out of me that when or if they were even allowed to visit for the months I was in the NICU, that like there was just so many tubes, and there was just, I mean, I came home with oxygen, I think like 3 months later. I mean, there's a lot of things that weren't developed, you know, if that makes sense. My screws are loose. But I mean, imagine just a normal mom coming home, right? And now my mom's coming home after a couple months with still a preemie. She put me in, like, all they had back then was preemie clothes. I think, you know, I swear I'm gonna come up with like a really cute fashionable preemie line, because I realize that I worked at a baby store, and I know that so many preemie moms literally don't have cute clothes. I'm gonna come up with something. And honestly, it's interesting because I don't even question it. She's like, I put you in baby clothes, like baby doll clothes. That's all we had. And she tells me the story about how my diaper, like covered up, like drowned me. It was so huge because they didn't have diapers that size. And I still am mind blown that 27 years ago, they were able to do all that they did. And I can't imagine, I don't know if any of y'all have seen Harry Potter, but I always think about that when they're like, a mother's love, like, saved you, Harry, right? If you haven't seen Harry Potter, spoiler alert, but whatever. Like, a mother's love does more than we can even see or understand or comprehend. And I can't imagine my mom going through everything she did and having a newborn that was a preemie with all these complications. I had like open heart surgery like day 2, I think it was. Mom, you can probably jump in the comments and correct me. But 2 pounds 4 ounces, lost a pound, gained a pound, had oxygen, open heart surgery, all the things, so that they could put a clip on my heart, like all the things, and then comes home to 7 other kids. And I know that people like comment with big families, they're like, oh, how do you love them all? And I always wonder that, like, how do you love them all? I know that your heart grows 3 sizes, cringe reference, but your heart grows with every child. I get that, but there's only so much time in the day, and I always wondered that. And like, how do you give all your time and all your love fairly or equally? I don't know that you can. And I think, sadly, like probably for my first year or so of life, I probably got some extra attention, because I needed it, right? And bless my older siblings for helping take care of the other kids and for helping take care of me. I've heard stories, and I'm grateful for you. Right? That's just the beginning. And you would think with that kind of start connection, like this love-hate relationship, like, oh, I've heard it my whole life. Like, oh, you almost killed mom. Like when you were born, nothing gets worse than that, whatever. Cool. So my mom and I are, you would think, right? Well, because of this, like, love language that my mom and I are kind of different on, there were times that I really needed like just an extra dose of that ooziness. And I remember, I can look back and remember my mom stepping out of her comfort zone, which I didn't know that until later on in life, right? I just was like, Mom, like, I'm sick, please sit with me, like, please. And my mom would like sit at the bed and like hold my hand until I fell asleep, or she'd like walk me up the stairs because I didn't want to be left at the bottom of the stairs alone, or all the little things that she did for me that were out of her comfort zone. And every mother is different. I think we always have these strange expectations we have for mothers, and I have to remember that my mom had to match, like at the time 8, and then when my brother was born 9, love languages. And I don't think she really knew it at the time. So I think in their generation, they kind of just blanket love. They just did their best. And I don't think we ever recognize what like the best means for like your mom. I think as we get older, and I mean, I don't have kids, but like I have plenty of siblings who do, and I have plenty of friends that do, and I've seen this cycle where they're like, I don't want to be anything like my parents, or they're like, I am who I am because of my parents, whatever, and then they grow up and they're like, I'm going to do things differently, or I know better, or I XYZ, because they have kids now and we have a different knowledge and different ideas and different, technology, and we have different techniques and like all the new education and all the things that we think for somehow, it's like some way we know better. And it took me literally to the beginning of this year. And I'm grateful when my brothers kind of like snapped me into it. And he just said, you will never know what it was like to be our mom. You will never know what she went through. Not just even when I was born, but, he's referencing all of us. And he's like, you will never be able to step into her shoes. You will never, like, you're judging her or based off of information you know now, and based off of, like, my generation now, like, right? Like, how I view things. And he's like, he just looked at me and he's like, Tiv, like, our parents as a whole, but he's like, they just did their best. Like our parents were young when they started having kids, and I mean, even me, like, by the time she had me, I don't know, I think she was like in her 40s, maybe, right? That's a lot to handle. And our generation and the world right now is so quick to judge and so quick to like jump on and be like, ugh. And I saw this really cool reel a couple days ago, and it was like this 80s mom versus like the 2020 mom. And it was like, what did you do with car seats? And they're like, I just had you in a basket next to me. And you're like, what? Like, was that even safe? And I worked, like I said, I worked at a baby store, so I remember like not realizing like all these things about car seats and all the things. And now some, like, I understand are bells and whistles, but like so much has changed from like when my mom was a mom to now even being a grandma. And we judge so harshly our parents, but then we have to stop and realize we will never be in their shoes, and they did their best, right? Like with what they had. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, just like I said, look at 27 years ago, me being a preemie versus now. Like, look at how things change. And for some reason, we like judge so harshly our mothers. Well, I was a problem child, not because of things not being fully developed. Probably, actually, maybe my brain cells or whatever. But I just was so curious about so many things, and I wasn't like the typical like get into everything crazy. I'm sure I probably did. I don't remember that kind of stuff. But from what I can remember, I don't know, I was king of the rock. Like, I just wanted to be a part of everything. And I literally physically remember like climbing over everyone, like strangers, people I know, my brother's girlfriends, like I was clingy. I got into everything. I wanted to be a part of everyone's business. And I not even just wanted to be the center of attention. Like, my mom tells me stories about how I used to get up and sing like on a box, and I was a little performer, and kind of makes sense. But it's funny because as I got older, I was curious about a lot of things. I mean, I can remember things even as early as elementary school, like things I wanted to know and didn't have answers to, so I went and figured them out myself. And I distinctly remember not just telling my mom I hated her, but meaning it. And I think it's so interesting as kids how we view like our relationship with our parents or our relationship with our mom, our parents' relationship. I had so many skewed perspectives because I think at that time, like, why would anybody tell you anything? And why, like, you don't get to know everything, and you don't need to know everything at certain ages. And I remember growing up, because my mom and I were different, in a weird way, we're so alike. Now I see it, and I'm like, wow, Mom, no wonder we butted heads. Like, we are so similar. Ironically, my mom is the type of person when she's sick, she's like, leave me alone. Like, don't touch me. So I think there's part of that, like, when I was sick, she's like, oh, okay, like, I'll hold your hand. And as the years went by, she changed. She was like, oh my gosh, this is what my child needs. So she would give us what we needed. And I think that goes for everyone. Like, your views of your parents change just as they change and as they adapt and learn and grow. Like I said, one of my best things my mom ever did was learn about the love languages. And I think she does try really hard to understand each of our love languages and like attach to that. And love us that way, even if it's uncomfortable, because you have to remember, like, if you're loving someone and that's not your love language, like the way they need to be loved, that's a lot for you. And to have 9 kids to do that too, and a husband and, parents and all the things, like, yeah, it takes a lot out of a person. Well, I remember being like just so wretched. Like, I literally, like, when I look back, I'm like, I didn't really have a relationship with my mom. I chose not to. I didn't talk to her. It's like I talked to her about things a couple times and it didn't go the way I wanted. And so as a teenager, I was like, I'm never talking to you again, right? So I never like shared stuff with my mom. I hid a lot of stuff. I ruined one of her favorite projects she ever had for us because I was a greedy little freaking, I don't know if it was elementary school or junior high, I don't know. And they were selling these massive suckers and I wanted them. And we didn't really have a lot of money, but I knew my mom had a lot of quarters. And because I don't know if you guys remember those old school, like, American, like, every state has a quarter. I don't know if you know that. And so she was like saving up to like, I don't know. It was just a fun little hobby she had to give us all one. Yeah, I ruined that. So sorry, everybody. I should figure out a way to like pay you back. I don't even know if they do that anymore. But I'm very sorry, Mom. And I think that's the thing, like, they forgive us. Like, we do so much bad crap, Mom. And they just forgive us. And they just keep loving us. So why is it on the flip side, we're like, Mom, I remember this, and I'm going to hold it against you for the rest of your life. Because you didn't react the way we wanted you to. You didn't love us the way we needed to in that moment. You didn't give us what we wanted in that moment, right? And now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so cruel to you. Like, I really did hate you, and I showed you, and I told you, and I made that kind of relationship for most of our lives. I'm so sorry. And yeah, I hate that it has taken me to adulthood to be like, I'm sorry. I don't know how many times our mothers went to bed crying because of us. Like, obviously they woke up and loved us and took care of us and did everything that we needed, but holy crap, Mom, I'm sorry. Not to mention, when I was a teenager, my mom, obviously, one of the biggest birthday gifts we gave her was that we would celebrate Christmas on her birthday, because that was like when we put the lights up on the house, we put the tree up, we'd do everything because my mom was so happy. Until she realized that when my brother's, his birthday is in November, and he even, there was a compromise. She was like, no, we don't need to do it anymore. I know he doesn't like it. And because it was Christmas for his birthday, because his birthday's, in November. And so, they made this compromise, and he's like, no, it's okay. You can put the lights up. I don't think we always put the tree up anymore, but we put the lights up. But his rule was that we couldn't listen to Christmas music in the car, because I think they used to put Christmas music on the radio, I think it was right after Halloween or the first week of November, something like that. And he would be like, no Christmas music in the car, which I agree. But, so that was their compromise. We could put the lights up and stuff for my mom, but then no Christmas music until after his birthday, right? So there's that compromise of motherhood being hey, this is what we do for you, and this is what we do for my kids, right? And I feel like there's always this tug of war with moms. A lot of times it just doesn't go their way. But they love us anyways. And my mom and I really, for years, we didn't really talk. We didn't really have that mother-daughter relationship. My mom was a good mom. And my mom loved me, and she was always there. My mom is everyone's number one fan. She supports and supports and supports and supports. And if you've heard my mom at a sporting event or anything else, you know her sound. You know what my mom sounds like. And it is the greatest gift of our lives. She is the best cheerleader. Sorry, Caleb. Just kidding. But even that, she is Caleb's best cheerleader, and my brother's cheerleader, by the way, if you didn't catch on to that. But it's so crazy to think that for years, I just really hated her. I didn't understand why she did things the way she did. We grew up in a very religious home, and my mom, honors and respects her faith, and she honors how she was raised. And so, for a long time, we couldn't have soda in our house. And you know what I never realized, though? It wasn't even just that, if she caught soda in the house, caffeine, I should say, that she would dump it out. But it wasn't even that. It was oh, my mom, sticks to what she knows and what she believes. Now that I look at it, I'm oh, yeah, it's probably a little harsh. And she still, just because of how she was raised, she still doesn't really drink it. And how crazy is that the way her mother was raised and how her mother raised her. Also, my grandma's also not a very nurturing person. And actually, I look at my aunts and their family, I'm okay. They're some are over the top, I think, because of that, and then others are So I get that my mom is not this random commodity. We are who we are based off how we were raised. And but I honor and respect now my mom's testimony and my mom's love for her faith. And there were times where I was Mom, you care more about that than you do about me, right? All the things. I used to say all the things to her, and I'm so sorry, Mom. And my mom knows this. We've had plethora of talks after years of therapy. I now share what I'm thinking and not just do spiteful actions towards it, or silent treatments, or all the things. Like, now she's probably tired of me sharing. Now this is a fun little story to tell you how our relationship changed, because if people looked at our relationship now, my siblings will tell you, especially the ones that live around me or are close to me or with me, they're like, oh, are you talking to the phone with Tiff? Or my dad will even say, like, I'll call and he'll be like, hi, Tiff. And I was like, how do you know it was me? And he's like, it's always you. Because it's always me. I call my mom probably at least every day. Not because I need to, but most of the time because I want to. My mom has become the best listener in the world, and she'll just let me say all I need to say. And if she feels like she needs to give me some motherly advice, she will. Or if she feels like she needs to, like, talk me off a cliff, she will, or whatever. But I literally could talk to my mom for hours and hours and hours. Like, sometimes my mom and I have this relationship sometimes where we just kind of are on the phone, just kind of living life. And that's because I realized that, like, I feel like I wasted so much time not talking to my mom that now I'm like, why wouldn't I talk to you, right? And so people look at my relationship now and they think, wow, you guys have like the best relationship ever. Like, you guys are two bees in a pod. Even some of my siblings are like, oh, mom didn't tell me that. And I'm like, oh, she talks to me all the time, right? I choose to talk to her all the time. And I think that's a big key, is because your mom will always be there if you need her. And I'll tell you how I know that. Because when I had moved out long before this, but I was going to EMT school, and I was really alone. I just felt really alone, and I was with a new roommate, and pretty much I'd go to work, go straight from work to class, and I'd go from class home and like up all night till 3 a.m. doing homework. And no joke, for some reason I really wanted a boyfriend at the time. That's what I really wanted. Like, I wanted to call him every night and do everything, but that just wasn't in the cards. And so I called my mom, because I hate, especially late at night, like, I hate driving alone. I don't know, I'm just like, eh. And so I would call my mom. It was about a 20-minute drive from school to home. And obviously this was a 5-hour class. So sometimes I was tired. Sometimes I just needed to vent about what happened. Sometimes I was like, just like tell her about my day. I would call my mom, and she knew, like, every single night, Monday through Friday, I would call her at like 10 o'clock. And if I didn't call her, she would call me after a while, because she kind of picked up on the pattern. And so I would call her every night at 10 o'clock until I got home. 20 minutes, about that range, if I wasn't talking to someone else, or if someone else didn't call me. And I would just talk probably the whole time. I would just tell her about my day. I would just tell her like what just happened in class, or it was just enough to keep me awake and keep me talking to get me home. And literally I would walk in the door and be like, hey, I made it home. She's like, you made it home safe? Great. You in the apartment? Great. Okay. Love you. Bye. That was enough. I didn't keep the conversation going. I didn't like ask her about her day. It was about me. I didn't even think about it. And I did that every day for months. For almost, it was at least an entire semester. And I called her. I chose to call her every single day. And obviously there was other times where, if I didn't call her, she'd be like, hey, you good? Like, she would check in. You need me to call you? Whatever. And that was it. I literally called her because I needed something. I needed company. I needed her to keep me awake. I needed to like rant to someone. And that was who I latched onto. And it just became a beautiful habit. Every single night I called her. But I hung up as soon as I got in the door. She got 20 minutes of my time, if that. And she sat through months of it. And I know, Mom, you love me, so thank you. And she would say, I would do anything for you. But now I look back at it and I was like, wow, how selfish. Like, I called her to like whine about my day, or like I allowed her 20 minutes of my time. And now I look back at it, I'm like, how awesome is my mom that she's like, yeah, I'll talk to you. Like, I get the chance to talk to you for 20 minutes. Great. And in the times that she couldn't, she was like, I'm so sorry, but like, you can text me at the stoplights or whatever. Like, don't text and drive, whatever. But she's like, but if you need me, because she knows that I would get home and then I would be up until 3 a.m. doing homework. So then my mom went the extra mile and she was like, hey, so I know you have a crazy busy schedule. Let me help you with your textbooks. My mom, I still laugh about it to this day. I gave my mom my textbook and she read through them and recorded her reading them. So I could pretty much listen like an audiobook to my freaking textbooks, okay? What? She's like, I don't know that I can't really, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't really help you, but I can at least read it. So I always laugh now. We always have this like joke because my mom is so intelligent. She's so smart. But she was reading these medical words. And if you're a part of like, or familiar with medical jargon or even watch Grey's Anatomy, whatever, like, you know some of these words. My mom, this amazingly intelligent woman, just couldn't get some of them right. And so it would be so funny. I'd be like taking the test or doing something and I would have my mom in my head because they would be, it's kind of like, imagine like saying, instead of just reading Wednesday, my mom would read it like Wednesday or something. And so, or it wouldn't even make sense. I'm like, what is she referencing? And I'm trying to even think of one, but like, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of one, but anyways, just imagine that. Like, she like would break it down in a different way, or she would sound it out, which as we know, a lot of medical jargon like has silent letters and, you know, it's pronounced certain ways and whatever. So I would just laugh. And her dad was like apparently Mr. Genius. And so I always used to think, Grandpa, like, couldn't you have helped her with that word? Like, come on now. And I'm sure his in heaven, he's just laughing because my mom's like this smart woman and like these words are just like not popping off the way that they should. But for months, she read my textbooks. So herself, she read through them and then recorded them and would send them to me so that I could sit during work and listen to them. I literally wouldn't have passed my EMT course had it not been for my mom. So how funny is it that I was like, I want a boyfriend? Like, I just really, like, probably one of the biggest times in my life where I was like, I just want a boyfriend. And I remember distinctly at the end of the semester being like, but you wouldn't have the relationship you do with your mom had you had a boyfriend. You also probably wouldn't have passed this class, this course, had you had a boyfriend, because I wouldn't have just spent the time. And my mom, she would stay up. I don't know if your mom did this in high school or even college, whatever, or junior high, where you told them the night before that you had a project due. And my mom was the queen of staying up. And so we would stay up all night long and get projects done. She also knew that we were much better at staying up late to do projects than like waking up early. So she would stay up with us. And she would make sure, even if she didn't know like how to do the homework we were doing, she would try and help us and figure it out. Or she would at least stay up with us to keep us company. And I will never forget that. And I felt that later on, as an adult doing this course. My mom was just doing what she does as a mom. She was staying up late. She was helping me with my homework the best way she could. And I will never be able to repay her for all that she's done. I don't think we really ever fathom how much our moms do for us. And that small little blip changed my life. I really went from hating my mom to having her as like my best friend. And it didn't just stop there. Like, there was a time, like even after that, where I was like, okay, thanks mom for all your help. And then for a while we didn't talk because my course was over. I didn't need her anymore. Right? That was rough. COVID came shortly after, and I moved back with my family. What I thought was going to be 2 weeks ended up being obviously longer than that. So I lived out a suitcase for 6+ months until I finally went back to my own apartment. But even that, like, I see God's hand in all of it, because I would not have the relationship I have with my mom today had I not given us the chance. And yeah, it took me to call her every day, because I think as moms, especially when the kids get older, I feel like they're like, oh, I don't want to bug you, like, oh, I know you're busy, like, but how often do we just freaking call our mom just to talk to her. Like, not that we need something, but how often do we just freaking talk to her? When was the last time you called your mom and you were like, Mom, I just want to chat. How's your day going? How's life? Because when I was about 20, 21, I found out a lot of things that I didn't know in my mom's life. So much about how the way she was raised, about things that she did as a mom or the sacrifices she had to make while raising us, all the crazy roller coasters she personally went through and still had to be a mom to 9 kids or even 1 kid. Like, I don't care. Like, she went through so much as a person. Like, do we forget that our moms are people? They're not just our moms. Like, I remember I used to get mad at my mom and be like, Mom, you need to pick me up. You need to do this. You need to do this because you're my mom. And she was like, I mean, like, yes, I love you, but that is not my only purpose in life. And I remember being like, yes, it is. It should be. And now looking back, I'm like, holy crap, she's a freaking person. Then responsible and taking care for all these other people, little people, and her husband, and, you know, whatever else, and loving on them. Our moms are people too, right? Like, whoa! I know. Mind blowing. It's amazing. And it took me being an adult to be like, I'm so sorry that I didn't realize that you were a person too. That not only did you have to deal with our feelings and our stuff, but you had to deal with your own stuff. And so finding out as an adult some of the things my mom has gone through, it was like the rose-colored glasses that I had for certain scenarios in my life. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, Mom. I had no idea. And then to go back to what my brother said, and he's like, you will never be in their shoes. You will never understand why they did what they did. Why they are who they are. Or that they were giving, even if it was 30%, that was maybe all they could give that day or that year or whatever. And you're like, holy crap. Because maybe it's not how you would have done things with what knowledge you have now or like with the world we're living in now, but I definitely wouldn't be putting my kid in a basket next to me, like, and as a car seat. But that's the whole thing, is like, our eyes have been open. Like, we've been changed and adapted just like anything else. And we're judging our mothers and our parents and our lives, like, previous based on what we know now. And holy crap, did I just sat and cried with my mom. Woo! Just a couple years ago. And because I'm now a little more mature, I was like, can you please tell me some of the things? Can I get to know you? And as a mother, she still, like, didn't want to just, like, tell me. Because it's, in her mind, it's, like, not the job to, like, drop this on your kids. And I know there's such a big, like, debate of, like, oh, be your kid's best friend growing up. And then other people are like, no, I'm not your best friend. I'm your mom, right? And I will say that my mom was not my best friend. Oh, sorry, my stomach. My mom was not my best friend at all. She was my mom. She was just my mom. She would tell me what I needed to do and how I needed to do it. And she would be my number one fan, but she was not my best friend. And I didn't talk to her about anything. And I got in a lot of trouble probably because of it. And you know what? The times that I feel like I did tell her stuff, she probably didn't react the way I wanted. Or she went on she went on her religious standpoint from it. And as she has learned about me now, like, even with religion, just like love languages, like, I handle information differently. I am not the same as her, like, intellectually. And so, isn't that crazy too? Like, it's like having, like, a biochemist tell someone, like, that leaves change, right? They change because of fall. That's about where I am. And then someone up here is like, oh, they change because of blah, 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 blah. Like, my mom was so smart that, especially, like, coming to, like, religion or even just, like, math or especially, like, papers and homework and stuff, my mom really was so smart in so many ways. And I think it took her, my adult life, to be like, oh, I have to kind of dumb this down for Tifannee, right? Just went so many times. But it's taken years of experience and getting to know me and learning my love languages and, like, learning who I am to be like, this is what I need to do for this child. So I can't imagine 20 years ago where some of these things weren't even a thing. And so she was just, like, doing the best she could and, like, it wasn't enough for me. Nope. Or, like, like, oh, why did she treat me like this? Like, why does she hate me? Like, blah, 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 blah. Because she was just doing her best and she didn't know any other way. We are so quick to judge our mothers, and yet we have no idea what they've been through. And as I found out some of this information, my heart just exploded for my mom. We sat and had that conversation, and multiple. We've had so many. This isn't just one big conversation, but we had one big one where I just said, Mom, I hated you. She said, I know. She knew that I hated her and that we didn't have a relationship. And she still showed up. She still loved me through it all. The best she could. You know what's funny? It's because I have watched since then. I have learned so much about her life, but I have watched since then my mom be the strong one in so many scenarios, because that's what she's good at. Everyone knows they can rely on her. And it makes me think of what's that movie, Encanto, where she's like, I'm the strong one, I'm not nervous, you know what I'm talking about. And she's like, it's the pressure, right? Like, they have that expectation for her in the movie, and that I felt that so deeply for my mom when I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my mom. Mom, you are so strong. And I wish you didn't have to be all the time. Because I think we forget. It's like when the people are so happy and all of a sudden something happens to them and you're like, but you were so happy. You're always the happy one. I don't understand. Because we don't check in with the happy people. We don't check in with the strong people. Check in with your mothers, people. Call them. Call them. And especially if you're a freaking adult or if you're a teenager, become their best friend. Don't expect your mom, who still needs to lead you and guide you and take care of you, even if you're an adult, right? Like, they're always taking care of us. But it's not their job to be your best friend. It's their job to be your mother and a person. Encourage them to do things that they love. Encourage them to find out what their best life is. And I know that 99.9% of that is their family, right? But find that 1%, that 10%, whatever it is, that's just for them. And encourage them. Be their number one fan. And it's funny, I've been doing a lot of stuff lately, healing and growing and whatever. And I'm looking back at my life, and my mom tried to teach me about manifesting and love languages. And she tried to teach me about controlling my thoughts. She would always tell me, they can't choose to make you mad. You're choosing to be mad. And I used to get so mad. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She was right. I mean, I remember in elementary school, or no, junior high, there was a teacher that would like tap, before tests. And I remember my friend, shout out Bailey, she would stand up and do it. And I would be like, oh, that's embarrassing. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, if anything that can help me pass the test, why wouldn't I do it? And I remember being like, holy crap. I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, you are amazing. Like, she's like, why wouldn't I do anything that could help me? And now I look at it now, I'm like, wow, Mom, why wouldn't I do anything that could help me? And you were teaching me my whole life. And I was so ignorant to you because you were my mom that I was like, no. And now that other people are telling me, I'm like, oh my gosh. And now my mom's back on track being like, do you see what I'm saying now? I'm like, oh, yes. Okay, I get it, Mom. Thank you for being patient enough with me to be like, boom, right? And my mom still was never in my face about it. She was like, I just remember telling her, like, I get it now, Mom. And she's like, oh, you do ya? Just kidding. No, but she was like, good. I'm glad, because they will help you. These things will help you, right? And it just blows my mind how much we probably don't know our mothers. And watching my mom, especially these last few years, I've had to step in a role that I've never experienced before. And I have had to step in to be my mom's best friend. And some of my siblings will attest, like, we've stepped in to be our mom's friend. Like, and some people will be like, oh, you don't need to be involved in that kind of stuff. And I'm like, heck yeah. Proud of me, Mom, I didn't say the H word. H double hockey sticks. Heck yeah, I do. Because when I watched people hurt her or put her in positions as the strong one where she shouldn't have to be in them, heck yeah, I'm going to step up and be her number one fan. If you know me, I tend to be a little defensive of the things I love, and she is my number one priority these days. And I've been so blessed to be able to step in as her friend and not on top of being her daughter. Because the funny thing is even though I'm her friend, she's still taking care of me in more ways than I can even freaking count. But I'm so grateful that I get to be my mom's friend. How many of you are your mom's friend? Truly. Like, and I'm not talking about even if you're the teenager in junior high and you're like, my mom's the worst. Okay? Take a day and it's like it's your mom's birthday, but like once a week. Just turn the clocks and be like, Mom, what do you want? I mean, moms get us Christmas presents every year. Mom gets us birthday presents every year. They wait all year and get us all the best things and all the things we want and all the things we need and all the other stuff. What do you get your mom for her birthday? What do you get your mom for Christmas? And I'm not just talking like materialistically. I mean, some moms, that's their love language. But do you know what your mom really wants? Are you comfortable with your mom for her to even tell you like what she wants or what she needs? Like, Mom, food zoning coming to you. Because that's the thing is like, sometimes they'll tell you. And sometimes they're like, no, don't spend your money on me. Or no, like all I really want is your time. Now that's true. My mom really does want our time, especially because we live in a different state. We literally flew out on my mom's birthday, the morning of her birthday. Happy birthday to you, Mom. But we tried to do everything we could the weekend of to spend time with my mom. And for my mom, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. And so she wanted to go to the temple. And I was like, yes, I can do that for you, Mom, right? Or she wanted to get a foot zoning. Or she wanted to go to dinner with us. Easy peasy. So I called my siblings. I was like, hey, if you're available, let's go to dinner with Mom. Because that's what she wants. Oh, and French fries. She really wanted French fries. And creme brulee. If you guys know any really good creme brulee like recipes, let me know. I'm gonna send them her way. I'm not gonna make it because I can't cook. But that's the thing. Ask your mom what she really wants and do it for her. And if you are a state away, find a way to make that happen. Or call her. Let me say that again. Call her. Text her. FaceTime her. Instagram her some memes. My mom now knows what Instagram memes are and reels, and that is the funniest thing of my life. She sends me stuff all the time and she thinks she's so funny, which a lot of them are, but she knows that I'm on here a lot, so she finds a way to connect with me. And I know that it's taken a lot of back and forth, mostly me as an adult being like, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom. And I'm not just calling her because I need her. I'm calling her because I want her in my life. I want her a part of the little things. I want her a part of the big things. And wherever you are at with your mom, show up for her. Be her number one fan. Start cheering her on and be her friend. Choose to love your mom or your dad or whoever it is. And take that, because we never know how much time we're going to get with people. We really don't. And I've seen so many people say, you know, tell the people you love them. Don't take this time for granted. However old your mom is, start now. Mom, happy birthday week. We're still in the month, so whatever, you get to enjoy that for another week and a half. But happy birthday week. I'm glad I got to spend even a second with you on your birthday. This woman woke up and made sure that we were on to the airport too early. And I'm so grateful for all the sacrifices she has made and continues to make. Yes, there was a time I hated my mom. There was a long time. But I realized that she's loved me even through all the times that I hated her. And to be honest, I don't deserve her love, but I know she's going to keep giving it to me all the time, no matter what. Because that's who she is. And she's giving me her best. She's showing up as her best, and I could not be more grateful. So, Mom, against everything I believe in, Merry Christmas. It's like, what, 3 months to Christmas? Something like that? 2 months to Christmas? I don't even know. You're welcome. I love you. I'm about to go take off this sweater now, but if, you want to FaceTime me later, I will put it back on for you. So, do the things that matter to your mom. Let her know you love her. And just remember that she gave you life. So if nothing else, show your gratitude because they deserve it. Love you, Mom. You're the best. Happy birthday. And Merry Christmas. And to all